Recording in progress.
Okay. We'll do something like a vlog because it's election time. My camera is too. Okay, so like I said, I promise that I'll be blogging about the candidates Marcos, Robredo, Isko, Manny Pacquiao, whatever, Lacson. You got it. Now I saw this video. Actually, see, I don't know. I used to idolize her, Nikki Coseteng, no? As you can see from the window. No? I want you to listen, and then I will tell you something. My comments sa kanya, no? In regards to there's some truth and there's some lies, okay, propagated with this, okay? So let's listen first.
Seen. Even during our time, there was no social media, people were helping, people were volunteering, etc. But nothing like this.
Okay,
This is unbelievable.
later on we're going to talk about social media and how you took to social media to air what you really had to say days before May 9. But first, what really is at stake here? We're only counting days before people troop to the polls. What to you is really at stake here in the elections?
I think the number one thing that we need is good governance. That's one. Second, it's a very clear path or clear track of what we want to do with ourselves based on national interest. There has to be a complete term. We have to start asking different questions. For example, is it more prevalent, for example, for people to ask, paano ako kikita dyan? How is it going to benefit me? Vis-a-vis, how can the majority benefit from whatever policies or whatever actions government will take?
Okay, let's stop. Rika. Okay. First of all, Nikki, no, you say good governance. Listen, hindi ba lahat ng presidente or kandidato sinasabi good governance? And who fucking, who really executed it, di ba? Oh, was it Cory? No. Fidel Ramos, a little bit. Economy side, pwede. And after that was Joseph Estrada, that's where everything failed. Then Gloria Macapagal, who initiated economic reforms despite her being at the bottom of the popularity ratings, no? Then came Noy Noy, wherein he kept quiet and did nothing, but the momentum was already there, built by GMA. And then Duterte, which nagpaangat again to the economy, and then stopped because of COVID, no? So talking about good governance, how can you expect? Do you expect Leni Robredo would do a good governance? Sino mga nakapaligid sa kanya? Puros mga mangmang. Puros mga bobo. Di ba? I'm talking about reality here. Okay? Kay Bongbong, sino nakapaligid? Sara Duterte, GMA, Aimee, who else? Okay? Sila Marcoleta, di ba? These are all brilliant people. Palagay mo na sabihin mo nag-corrupt sila. Who cares kung nag-corrupt sila? But they are qualified. Yun ang importante, qualification. Okay? Hindi yung putangina, 40 times 4, hindi mo maano. Hindi mo ma-multiply. At hindi mo alam how many islands are sa Philippines. Ano yun? Fake news na naman? May video nga yun di ba? Yun na lang. Those two videos, how can you afford and how can you, with your intellectual capacity, vote for that person knowing gusto mo lang wag maupo si Marcos? For me, that's stupidity. That's stupidity. I used to be for Cory before. Okay? Kamutik na ako doon sa makukulong pag nag-martial law, natuloy yung martial law at hindi nag-EDSA. Kasali ako doon. Sa kulungan na yon, sa Carvalho Island. Nakita ko sa NISA yung pangalan ko doon. No, ikukulong kami lahat doon. Okay? So, but you have to wake up to reality. Not because you're scared of Marcos. Bakit? Yan ba yung tatay? Number one question ko sa inyo, yan ba yung tatay? Hindi, right? I-repeat niya ba yung nagawa niya dati? Okay? Kung bobo ka, hindi mo, sasagutin mo, oo, hindi. Definitely, hindi na. Okay? Number one, Bongbong cannot declare martial law because we have a new constitution wherein it has to be approved by Congress and then the Senate before the president can initiate or declare martial law. At sinabi na hindi pa rin titigil ang Congress pag may martial law, like what Marcos did. Okay? So, sige, continue ka muna.
Those questions are hardly ever asked and maybe put before. You know, another thing is also the return of organized groups, alumni associations, maybe concerned citizens groups, etc. I think there's now a conscientization that when we support a president and he or she wins, I hope it's a she, then you don't leave the winner to her own devices. You still have to be there. And I think that this time, the very supporters of the candidates will be their very critics when they're already in office. They're very police force when they're in office.
Senator,
Police force, Kiko Pangilinan, Sharon Cuneta, sino pa ba? Sino ba kasama ng mga mangmang? No, doesn't have balls. Kasama niyan, wala namang lahat eh. De Lima, nakakulong. Ano yan? Yung si Bomba Queen? Si Drug Queen? Di ba? Sex Queen? Oh. Yan? Sino? Si Binay?
If Lenny wins, I think that's what will happen.
Senator Wildaway mentions
If anyways that will happen. How can you fucking prove that? Na magpupulis yung mga yan. Pinulis pa nila si Aquino? Pinatay pa nga eh. Anyway, ayoko na.
social media, and as you said, correctly pointed out, unprecedented what has been happening even before the official campaign season began. And you took to social media to write to the public an open letter wherein you said, you don't, it's not verbatim what how I'm gonna quote you, but basically saying that you don't know, you're not friends with Vice President Lenny Robredo, but you know Marcos. You said what he and his family have done to individuals or institutions and to us as a people, as a nation, is public knowledge, easily verifiable, and with basis in fact, and that is more than enough to know he must not be allowed to return to Malacanang. But let me ask you this, Senator Coseteng, why do you think that we're even in this situation?
Good question. Huwag ka na sumagot. Okay? Wala kang alam. Kasalanan nyo rin kasi. Okay, mga Dilawan, mga oligarchs, kasalanan nyo rin yan. Na hindi nyo in-institute sa eskwelahan the facts that really happened during the Marcos time. Now, nag-research kayo, nagpo-prove kayo, nag-ano kayo, what do you call this? You do a documentary, you do what do you call that? Testifying. I don't know what's that called in court. I forgot. Basta. So now you're just relating because there is no fucking evidence that you can show or you can prove. Okay? Na it all happened. Well, it happened. Pero wala kayong mapakita ebidensya. So sino may kasalanan nun? Kayo. Di ba? Kung ba't lumakas si Marcos, kayo rin yun ang may kasalanan. Okay? So huwag kayong magsisi ng ibang iba. Kayo ang may kasalanan. Because you have a fucking weak party, you have a fucking weak candidate. Paano namin susuportahan yon? Ni hindi marunong mag-multiply. Okay? Kung hindi yun sana, pwede pa eh. Sana kung nilagay si Isko na tumapat eh. Hindi eh. Gusto nyo talaga dilaw eh. Gusto nyo talaga yung angka na galing doon. Di ba? Hindi kayo makatake na something, why not adapt a younger face, a new face, di ba? For the opposition. To fight to 30, pwede naman yun eh. Problema. Kayo mismo, bida-bida. Di ba? Nagkamali din kay Duterte Party dahil nagkagulo-gulo, hindi tumakbo si Sara. But, tama yung ginawa ni Sara. Na talagang pag nag-tandem sila ni Bongbong, unbeatable. So, sino matalino? Sino matalino? Walang matalino sa inyo. That's the problem. Yun ang problema ng party, ng side nyo, yung kabila, yung mga pink, yung mga dilawan. Yan ang problema sa inyo. Kulang ang utak. Kulang ang brain power doon sa organization nyo.
Well, that's going to be a very long answer. But it's more, I think, because the administrations that followed the Marcos regime
Pati mo sabihin si Cory.
did not really pay much attention
So, sinisisi mo si Cory.
correcting or to rewriting or writing a correct history. And so this was never brought to the attention of the youth. And the youth at that time, they're now more than 18 years old, right? So that's one thing. Secondly, I think there has been a massive propaganda campaign over the last 5 years of Marcos and their own trolls and their own social media or PR practitioners, etc. And these people have managed to shape this impression based on lies, based on fables, based on inaccuracies, etc. And to push and change history, to push the change.
So parang umamin ka na rin. Umamin din kayo na yung mga trolls were effective. They were effective army in the internet. So, umamin din kayo. Ang tanong ko, ba't hindi nyo ginaya? Ba't hindi nyo nilabanan yung mga trolls? Di ba? Yung presidente mo, yung vice president mo, na pinapaano mo, sabi, bobo ko, mahirap ako, ganun. Ang wala sa akin ay yung wala sila at wala ka rin lahat. Yung ganun. Di ba? May sinasabi pa siyang ganun eh. Ano akin meron sa inyo na wala kayo na whatever. Di ba? Lutang. Di ba? Anyway, tanga kayo. Another one, tanga uli. Dahil nagwagi sila sa troll. Correct? Hindi ako pro Marcos ha. Okay? Sinasabi ko lang yung right side at tama at mali na sinasabi nyo. Okay?
Change of our history. And I think this is significant. However, and the other side, let's call it the other side, never really, bothered to correct it because maybe they thought, puro kasinungalingan naman yan kaya okay lang, di ba? It's not going to flourish. But a lie told 1,000,000 times to many become the truth. And that's exactly this maybe the psychiatrists and the professionals know this better than.
Example, tama yung sinabi mo. A lie can become a truth. It's told so many times. Di ba ginawa ni Cory yun? Diba? Sino pumatay sa asawa niya? Sinasabi niyo si Marcos, correct? Dalawa naging presidente, si Cory and yung anak niya. Okay? Ba't di niyo inimbestiga? Kung sino talaga pumatay? Kasi nga, nakikinabang kayo doon sa pagkapatay ng tatay niyo. Yung si Ninoy Aquino. No? Nakinabang yung pamilya, naging presidente yung asawa, sumikat yung anak, na babae, naging presidente na naman yung autistic na anak. So nakinabang din sila doon. Okay? So they also had a lie. Not only the Marcoses lie. You also, the Cory had also lies.
Than I do. But and they also have managed to study the Filipino psyche. What makes the Filipino tick? You know, what will make them clutch on to straws? And
Marami ka palang alam eh. Marami ka palang alam eh. Ngayon, buhay pikit-pikit ka dyan. Di ba? Marami ka palang alam, ba't ngayon ka lang lumabas? Hindi ka tumulong. Mga kabubuhan din ito eh, no? Lalabas 2 days before, 3 days before the election. Tanga, too late ka na. Kahit anong pagsabi mo dyan, kahit lasasin mo yung leeg mo dyan, hindi magpapalit ang boto ng mga tao. Bobo.
what will make them embrace these fantasies? One, economic condition. Another thing is maybe a reminder that, oh, nakikinabang tayo dyan. Kasi nakinabang na tayo noon eh. Or, nakikinabang naman tayo kahit paano. So it's really a personal pakikinabang. It's not ever a, what's good for my country should be good for me.
Bakit? May presidente ba tumakbo na walang pakinabang? Yung chuchua? Saan niya kinuha yung mga sponsorship niya? Ba't ang daming pera ni Robredo? Sa mga rally, kung maghakot, 500 mahigit. Di ba? Lahat naka-t-shirt, kulay pink, may mga patubig pa yan. May patubig, may pamaypay, may lahat, may payo. May balloons pa kamo. Saan kinukuha yun? Saan? Mahirap? Pera na mahirap, nag-donate? Nagpagawa ako ng balloon, ng t-shirt? Kastupidohan, di ba? Kaya pwede ba? Huwag kayong ang pinakayoko lang, hindi ko sinasabi si Bongbong hindi nagbayad. Pero kayo magpakamalinis. Nagbayad din kayo. Di ba? Natalo lang kayo. Hindi kayo marunong.
Or if my country is strong, my country is prosperous, I will be strong and prosperous as well. And many countries have adopted that policy for the last several hundred years. They've been true to that. And the solutions to their problems are homegrown and very
that you're resigned to a reality that it will soon get so worse before it even gets better. You went on to give details that point to some 30 years of wait before the recovery and the progress that we're seeing right now. How sure are you, though, Senator Coseteng, that this will happen again, that people will again go through the worst if a Marcos Jr. presidency indeed happens?
well, as the saying goes, history repeats itself. And those who pay no attention to history are doomed to commit the same mistakes. We knew what the situation was towards the fall of the Marcos dictatorship, how much poverty there was, and no amount of glossing and candy coating can remove that. I will never forget the image of Joel Abong. You can even look him up in the internet today. Thank God there's internet now. And there's Joel Abong, and he was the poster boy of poverty in the Philippines. He was from Negros Occidental.
Okay, may mahirap. Okay. Yung pinakilala mo pa, hindi pa kilala. Kahit ako rebelde ako noon Ba't hindi ko kilala yung sinasabi mo? Yung Joel Abong na yan. Di ba? Magbabanggit ka na ng pangalan, hindi pa malakas sa impact. Kaya kayo natatalunan di ba? Sana kung malakas kayo, nanalo kayo may utak man kayo, yung a little bit of wala talo kayo ng utak ng GMA, Sara Duterte, Amy Marcos, 3 palang babae, talo na kayo Di ba? I'll give you an example. Kung gusto niyo pabaksakin yung ni Marcos, na martial law, ba't niyo minimedyo si Nelia Sancho? The beauty queen who was raped at naging NPA. Wala nag-mention sa inyo. Yun ang epic. Sige na.
That was the situation. Then, after the demise of that regime, there was like a period of consolidation, a period of reconciliation, a period of trust, a period of dignity for ourselves in the eyes of the world. That was under the Cory presidency. I say reconciliation because nobody was lined up on the wall and firing someone. Nobody. Nobody was put to jail because of hidden wealth or any such things. Members of the Marcos clique voluntarily came forward, surrendered some of those properties, surrendered some of that wealth, and joined the Cory administration. They ran under Lakas, they ran under LDP. We were friends. I was with the
Di ba inamin mo rin friends mo? Sabihin, balimbing ka din, balimbing din kayo. Huwag kayo mag-accuse sa ganito. Yung mga Marcos, tumakbo under. Lahat yan. Paulit-ulit. Singson, the political dynasties. Last kayo paulit-ulit kung sino yung party na panalo doon kayo. Liberal, di ba? PDP, Lakas. Huwag mo sabihin Marcos lang yung gano'n. No. Buti pa yung mga Marcos nga eh. They stayed with KBL eh. O yung mga yung mga fanatics eh. Hindi katulad yung mga balimbing, tumatagilid kayo. Di ba?
and in Congress. They helped me run and win in their own respective provinces. You know? And this is
that itself that itself, inano mo, inamin mo, nagpatulong ka sa mga tao ni Marcos para nanalo kaya ka naging senador. O sinong balimbing ngayon? Eh, di ba? Visit. Sinasalta ka na.
nationwide. The
Visit
massive
mo ako.
appreciation of how Cory handled it, in spite of the fact that it was a revolutionary government. Nobody was shot. And maybe that's one of the reasons why.
Nobody was shot. Mendiola massacre. Pinagbabaril nyo. Hindi nagawa ni Marcos yun eh. Bumaril ng mga farmers. Nangarap-harapan. Pero si Cory nagawa yun. Mendiola, nobody was shot. Are you born yesterday? Nikki, where are you?
Was it naive for the administration then to have this?
I don't want to call them naive because they were very serious and seasoned politicians at that time, policy makers, etc. I think it's because Cory herself was not that kind of person. I don't see Cory as ordering somebody to shoot these people because they're Marcos people and they're holding
Yun na nga eh, yung farmers binaril. I repeat, binaril.
Marcos wealth. I cannot imagine her doing that.
But can you say, Senator, that was the beginning?
Di ba si Lina Broca, gumawa ka ng pelikula? Orno Pernabis ba yun? It's about the killing in Davao? Na nagpapapatay sila talaga? Lalo yung mga NPA, pinagpapatay nila, winahunting nila. Di ba?
Normalizing their return to power.
Maybe not immediately. The normalizing of the return to power maybe happened several administrations after. Because during that time, many of the Marcos people were allowed to go about their businesses. They were not confiscated. The businesses that made Marcos strong and accumulate so much money, the land is still with them to this day. Their businesses are there to this day. They were already, how do I call it? Maybe appreciated and embraced into the.
Sino may kasalanan naman nun? Sino may kasalanan nun? Kung hindi nyo kinuha yung negosyo, yung mga confiscation, lahat. Pinaandaran nyo pala yung mga negosyo nila eh. Bakit? Eh kasi konektado rin yung mga kamag-anak ni Cory, di ba? Sila din yung na-take over ng ganito, yung letter L, yung asawa ni Balsi yata, whatever, na involved sa mga kasong ganyan. They took over the government, they merged with the cronies.
Fold of the political order. As a matter of fact, many of them continue their dynasties, their economic and political hold in the different regions where they belong, etc. And we didn't take it against them. at that time,
Mhm.
you know. So when I say 30 years, I remember I had a loan and I had to pay 25% interest on the loan. Can you imagine what will happen to all the people who own 1, 2, 3 bedroom condos today, bought small houses, etc., borrowed money to put up restaurants, to put up franchises, you know,
Yeah.
this, I guess many people now own franchises.
Alam mo, conflict yung sinasabi niya. Nalilito siya. Okay? There were two major crises that hit the Philippines. I mean, not only the Philippines, the global crisis. Okay? 70s was yung sa oil. Nagrasyon ng oil. Okay? Umakyat yung price of oil because there was an embargo or something. Well, I was really young then. Then during the 80s, okay, binaril si Ninoy. Eh, sino nagpapatay? Hindi si Marcos yon. Marcos that stupid para ipapatay yon. Okay? Pinapatay ng kamag-anak din nila. Okay. So there was a capital flight. Capital flight during 83 to 85. Okay. So nagsaraduhan yung mga bangko. So doon tumaas yung interest rate. Kasi sinasabi niya 25% daw. But nakakamali ka, Miss Nikki Coseteng. Dahil, paano ka magkakaroon ng loan 30 years ago, samantalang ilang taon ka pa lang ngayon, although hindi mo inaamin, no? Kung mas matanda ka pa sa akin, mas bata ka, or whatever, no? Pero you were just 25 then, during 1983. I had to research on your, on your birthday. Bakit? 25, nakabili ka na ng kondo? Wala namang kondo nun eh. O, palagay mo na, may house and lot ka nabili. You are saying, nagbayad ka ng 25% interest during the Asian fucking crisis. 1998. Doon tumaas yung interest rate ng 25%. Kasi nag-invest din yung daddy ko ng double your money in 5 years. Meaning, nag-earn ng 20% every year yung pera niya hanggang mabuo yung 100% ng 5 years. Swerte yung daddy ko, he invested a lot of money. Eh, tama-tama, nabenta naman yung Makati Avenue property namin. So, doon ko talaga nalaman, talaga, yes, meron palang ganun, na double your money in 5 years. Di ba? So, I think you're saying, that was the time, that's not panahon ni Marcos, panahon ni Ramos yan. Or nung ERAP na, during the transition. Okay? Mali.
They have loans in the banks.
But how sure are you that that
Can
is
you imagine from 7% that they will go to 25 or 30%? They will all go bankrupt. They will lose their houses. They will all be foreclosed.
how sure are you that that indeed will happen? How certain are you that that's the scenario that awaits the people?
Alam mo yan pa. I mean, I don't know who this is. Hindi ko kilala to. Hindi ko alam. You're familiar but I don't know your name. Pero you have a valid point. What happened before with Marcos, the dad? Paano mangyayari ngayon yun? Eh, ang dami natin pera sa central bank. Alam niyo ba ang reserves ng Pilipinas? May $100 billion tayo in the central bank plus the gold. Paano mangyayari yung sinasabi mong economic crisis that will jump from 7 to 25%?
Let's put it this way. I hope you know. But I went through it. My father,
Iba yung situation noon, iba yung situation ngayon. Okay? What happened before can never be repeated again. Okay? You cannot touch the same water twice in a flowing river.
indeed lost his shirt because of this. Loans were not paid. The banks,
Bullshit ito.
losses.
Ano natin?
Cory after Marcos's poverty-stricken administration, when Cory inherited a totally bankrupt administration, maybe more than half, maybe 60%, if I recall right, I recall it's more than 50 million pesos a day, the debt service of the Bataan nuclear plant. I recall that. I mean, that can be
50
further.
million? 1.5 billion a month.
Yes, I researched for documents.
50 million a day. So that's 1.5 billion a month. So how many billion is that in a year? Okay. 18 billion. Eh magkano lang yung Bataan Nuclear Plant? Di ba? Magkano yung Bataan Nuclear Power Plant? Alam ko, inutang natin yan, $1.8 billion. Eh kung lalagay mo yung exchange rate, during the 80s, the exchange rate was only like what? 9 pesos to $1, 10 pesos. I don't have the correct figures. I cannot Google because I'm doing this. So, absolute lie.
But what I'm saying is, that took 30 years. I was
At, isa pa, biniyaran na natin para fucking power nuclear plant. Hindi naman yung pinaandar. Eh, ba't yung ba binayaran? Ito pa, babanata ko kayo. Alam mo ba, there was a time na sinasabi ng World Bank, alam mo, Cory, pwede nang yung mga utang nyo, pwedeng amnesty. Dahil nga, sinasabi nyo, si Marcos ang gumawa, lahat ninakaw, whatever, there was a time, hindi ko makalimutan yan, sinabihan si Cory, the Philippine government during that time had the chance not to pay back the loans. Eh, pumunta sa US si Tita Cory. Nagyabang. No, we can pay those loans. Okay. Binayaran na plus interest pa yung Bataan Nuclear Plant at hindi sinindihan. Nabayaran natin ang Power Nuclear Plant 2012, I forgot, between 2008 to 2015. Nabayaran na natin yung Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Not a single spark was produced from that power plant. Why? Because of Cory. Ayaw niya ituloy yung project ni Marcos. Ngayon, kasalanan ba ng mga Marcos yun? Na hindi nyo tinuloy? Kasalanan ba ng taong bayan yun? Na pinahirapan nyo pa kami, na wala kaming kuryente? Naalala nyo ba yung brownout nyo? Paalala ko lang, Korean administration. Natutulog ako sa kotse noon. 18 hours brownout Metro Manila. Bibigyan mo na kami ng 8 hours na may aircon. I can never forget that. Okay? Kaya tumigil kayo.
only 30, maybe I was only what, 20 plus in those days, and 30. And I had enough time to see this recovery. And people who say, wala naman nangyari. Walang nangyari sa kanila if they can keep doing the same thing up to today. Walang nangyari sa kanila. But those who lifted themselves up, got themselves an education. Some people, maybe they were just pushing a push cart, but their children today are physical.
Senator, in your
These
letter,
are all fueled by the money.
Irrelevant.
the winner. You and I both know that this has been the practice, but I want you to tell us now, who are you addressing in that final question, Senator Coseteng?
I think these are the people who feel that they can work with any administration. These are people who feel that since they are already way above what is known as average, and that position has to be kept and has to be maintained at all costs, they also know that, you know, putting their bets on one horse may cause a collapse or maybe just a hiccup in their business undertakings. Maybe they have pending deals that will take more than just 1 or 2, 3 administrations to consummate. So they're very careful. Why? Because they want to also be influencers to this. You know, you see a lot of wealthy people, they don't even want to drive their Mercedes, Benz and their BMW 7 Series outside. Why? Ako, baka ma-hold up ako. Baka makidnap ako. That, ano?
Eh baka naman yung area mo, slums or poor area. Baka doon ka nakatira, huwag mo lahatin. Dito sa BGC, nagkakalat mga Ferrari. Ferrari, Porsche, lahat. Maserati, lahat. Okay? Pumunta ka ng BGC. Eh, nasa poor area ka, siyempre takot ka doon. Lumipat ka ng bahay.
Is already an indication that your society is violent and your society is a threat to you. You have no peace of mind.
Kalokohan. We are one of the most civilized countries now. Compared to China, compared to US na nagra-riot, compared to Russia, compared, name it. We are so smart people now na hindi tayo bobo na sumasali kung ano-ano na walang kainatan yan. Okay? Katulad na yung mga Pilipino, nagmukhang pera na. Trabaho lang. Okay? Kaya sinasabi mo, nung panahon nyo yan.
You don't feel that way when you go somewhere else. You don't look over your shoulder and find out, I walk to the mall.
Ang dami mo kwento. Kung namamalengke ka, naglalakad ka, wala kaming pakialam. Kung pupunta ka ng Divisoria, walang parking doon. Talaga dapat maglakad ka. Isa ko nito eh. Isa ko! Walang sound. Stop natin. Stop. Go.
Considering the fact that many who are backing her presidential bid now are people who propped up this failed system, the very same system that failed the people. How sure are you, Senator?
May point to, reporter. The people who failed the same system are the people behind Robredo again.
I would rather place my bet on Vice President Lenny Robredo. Because, as I mentioned earlier, under the Cory administration, nobody was lined up on the wall and shot. Because that's not her psyche. That's not her composition. She's not like that.
Politiko na naman mas marami siya pinapatay.
I mentioned in my letter, I don't know Lenny up close. She's not my barkada. She's not my buddy or chummy with her. I'm not chummy with her.
Bakit? Tinatanong ba namin? Ha? Tinatanong ba namin? Kung chummy ka?
But I would rather intelligently and emotionally cast my lot with her because I think she's of a different stuff and a different mold. I remember.
Yes, she floats all the time in the air. So she's a different being. Pwede na nga siya sumali sa Avengers eh. Lumilipad yung utak niya kasi.
Mr. Marcos, as candidate today, before, never worked. All they did was go to the disco. And they were always high on drugs. And I know them. They're the very same people supporting him today. I don't condemn them. That's their life.
Tatawa ko dito. Masama mo pumunta sa disco during those times. Pupunta ka rin, inaamin mo later on. Aminin niya rin na ano ko na to, na password ko konti. Papanatan mo si Bongbong. Anong gusto mo? Naging pari yun na sa bahay, nagdadasal? Eh lahat naman tayo nasa disco tayo ng panahon na yun. Sira ulo.
They have all the money. They have all the resources. They don't have to drag their feet and work and show people, even to pretend, I'd rather cast my lot with somebody who I feel can give us a break. Just arrest it. Even just the jargon, even just the conversation. Just to change the conversation means a lot to many people.
Senator.
Just the words used.
Yeah. Senator, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to be I'm gonna have to go back to the statement that you just made, that the Marcos says, were you pertaining to the candidate now, Marcos Jr., when you said that he wasn't working?
Yes. Yes.
And the statement that you said about drug use, were you also pertaining to Marcos Jr.?
Yes, they were always high. You can have a list.
And why do you know that? Why do you know that? How?
Alam mo, tama na naman to si reporter eh. Bakit mo alam kung di ka nagdudroga? Alam mo kami, umiinom lang kami noon. And we never took drugs when we were young. Okay? Siguro, hindi ko narinig yung cocaine before. Uso na pala yun. So, if ever you're taking it as well, kung alam mo na si Bongbong din kumukuha nun. Okay? It takes one to know one. Ako hindi ko alam. I see Bongbong, I see Amy and Irene in where else, Intercon, during those days. Oh, umiinom lang kami. Umiinom lang sila.
You know that.
Look, we grew up in the same era. We grew up in the same time. Everybody hears about it. You know, they go to Stargazer, they go to other discos, etc. And everybody knows it. And it was just accepted. Why? He's the son of the president. There's even a singing group abroad that mentioned, that he's got people bringing him the stuff,
But you weren't there for sure to witness
They
it.
denied it. I don't think they even deny that, because everybody knows it.
All right.
I mean, President Duterte said it. I'm not saying it because he said it. I know I'm saying it because during our time, he's not very much younger than me. It's not like I'm 69 years old today and he is 25. It's not like that. I mean, we're not very far from each other.
Well, now, give them your message. I mean, you said a lot during in that letter, but two things that you want people to think about before they cast their vote come election day. Give us those two things.
I'd like people to, number one, think of our present. Number two, to think of our future. This is going to be a whole litany of things, but those two things I think are important. First. Second, we think of our country first. And then think of ourselves. It cannot be the other way around. I'm sorry. And finally, if we want to see things done differently, or if we want to see different results, you want to see different results, then let's do things differently. There are different ways. As they say, there's different ways of skinning a cat. But since my days in UP, 1970, I entered the University of the Philippines. You want to continue doing the same thing. Some people try to do things different, they will never win another election.
Let's stop this. I just want to see the point of view of another person endorsing Robredo. Well, I'd review somebody who endorses Marcos as well. Actually, with the Marcoses, I don't see so much valid points, except for palagay mo na, he took drugs, everybody takes drugs, di ba? And everybody rehabilitates. Hindi naman siya nag-i-addict eh. Di ba? Hindi naman siya nag-i-ganoon, diba? Okay, number two, what the father did, he cannot repeat. It's a different situation now. Tingin mo, uubra kay Inday Sara yan? Pag gagawin niya yung mga ginawa niya ni Marcos before? Of course not. Do you think uubra kay GMA yan? Ha? Do you think uubra di sa amin? Kami mismo mamarka sa EDSA pag gagawin niya uli yun. Okay? So it's not you. It's not your party. It's not the other camp. Okay? Wala kayong alam. Okay? Parati nga kayong failure eh. Campaign nyo, failure. Ang utak nyo, failure. Ang candidate nyo, failure. Saan kayo nag-succeed? Wala. Diba? I mean, you know what, I'm pro Isko, pero wala kang magagawa eh. Kasi nga, hinarangan nyo. Kung yung mga Dilawan at Pink, hindi na kumindidato yan, ang laban dapat Bongbong and Isko. Eh pero wala eh, sumingit kayo. So ginawa na naman yung anti-Marcos ang labanan, which is not supposed to be the case because tapos na yan. Wala na kami pakialam dyan. Papaalala niyo yung martial law? Tingin mo yung mga millennials and Gen X, Y, Z, they remembered martial law? Of course not. Eh ako bata pa ako rin, tanda ko na ngayon. Oh. Wala ba nangyari sa akin masama nun? Actually, we had more parties during that time because Marcos allowed us to be inside the club during curfew times from 12 to 4. So uwi kami 4 o'clock in the morning. So we were all happy. Walang gulo nun. Okay? So, anyway, I'm just telling you the truth behind it, no? Maraming propaganda, magsasalita, kunyari ganito, kunyari ganon. Pero kung meron man, kung ba't kayo matatalo, Liberal Party, Kapingkingan, at Kayelohan, Kadilawan, is because you're stupid. Hindi kayo nag-isip, hindi kayo marunong. Kasalanan nyo lahat yan. Kung sana nagtayo kayo ng isang kandidato na medyo namang hindi marunong, alam niya kung ilang islands meron ng Philippines. Hindi dapat Charlene Gonzalez na kinuha nyo. Di ba? Meron pa siya low tide, high tide. Oh. Di ba? Hindi kayo marunong eh. Di ba? So, anyway, yun lang masabi ko sa kanila. No? Do you think, yun na lang eh, do you think Inday Sara will let it happen to destroy the legacy of what the father built? I don't think so. Kaya nga binoboto ngayon si Marcos because Sara is there. Alam nila bantay si Sara dyan. Alam nila makikialam si Sara in running the government. We all know that. GMA will help run the government. Magaling naman yun. Palagay mo na nag-corruption dati, wala nga proven eh. Di ba? Hindi nga proven eh. Wala nga valid points eh. ZTE, na naglaro siya ng golf with the owners. Oh, asan ang pera? Asan ang money trail? Wala sila produce. Okay? Hello, Garci, bakit? Sinabi ba ni GMA noon na, hoy, Garci, ilan ang madadaya ko pa dyan? Tinanong niya lang ilan ang lamang. Pakinggan niyo uli. May sinabi ba in-order si Garci na, oh, paano yan? Paano natin madadaya yan? Walang ganun. So, and then in-interpret ng ABS-CBN, ng mga Dilawan, na to go and fight GMA, hanggang na-paralyze naman ng kalye, nalugi negosyo ko, dahil parati kayo nag-rally dyan sa may Ayala again, binubuhay nyo, di ba? So, anyway, for me, ang mas importante is stability and business. It has to go on. Okay? Forget your fucking protest rally. Kung pwede kayo sagasaan ng pison, sagasaan namin kayo ng pison. Okay? Kung talo yung ano nyo, talo talaga. Survey lang, talo na eh. Ano pang sinasabi yung daya? Kahit anong daya gawin nyo, kayo nga dapat mandaya eh. Hindi si Marcos. Dalamang na lamang si Marcos. Kayo dapat mandaya. Mag-isip na kayo paano nyo dadayain. Di ba? Oh. Kung kayo mandadaya, hindi kami magmamarcha. Dayain nyo na. Hanggang kaya nyo. Oh. Okay? Yun lang. Pagod na ako sa iyo, Nikki, ah. Isip na ako sa inyo. Paano ba to? Paano ba to? Paano to? Hindi, patayin ko to. Point. Close tab. Yun. Ay, mali. Saan yung, yung recording? Na-record ba? Nangyari. Stop recording.